Namaste, Hare Krishna. Welcome back to the reading of Srimad Bhagavad Gita with me. Those of you who have joined in for the first time, kindly hear it from the very beginning. You will find the first part onwards in the same channel. And don't forget to subscribe so that you are consistently updated on every new recorded upload. Today we will be reading chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, the translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Swami Bhakti Gaurava Narsingha, who happen to be my Guru and Param Guru. We will continue our reading from verse 8. Nahi prapashyami mamapunyad yat chokam uchchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhumav asapatam riddham rajyam suranam api chadhipatyam. Translation: I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to destroy it even if I win an unrivaled kingdom on the earth with sovereignty like that of the demigods in heaven. Purport: although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master Lord Shri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc. are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can only be given by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiba vipra kiba nyasi shudra kene naya yei Krishna tattva veta sei guru haya. This is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 8.127, which basically means it does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, which means learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect and bona fide spiritual master. So without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in Vedic literatures, Shat karma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharadaha avaishnavo gurur nasyat vaishnavaha swapacho guruhu, which means a scholarly Brahmana, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. The problems of material existence, which is birth, old age, disease and death, cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed, yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna or the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentations for family, social, national, or international inabilities, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods in the heavenly planets would not be able to drive away his lamentations. He sought, therefore, refuge in Krishna consciousness, and that is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation into a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking a place on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Kshine punye Martyalokam Vishanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lowest status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna as Arjuna is seeking to do. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. I would now read the purport given by Swami Bhakti Gaurava Narasingha. This second chapter is where the Bhagavad Gita truly begins. Bhagavad Gita literally means the song of Bhagavan, and Bhagavan means the absolute truth. Here for the first time in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna is addressed as Bhagavan. According to Vedic scholars such as Parashara Muni, Bhagavan means one who possesses all wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge and renunciation. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashaha shriyaha jnana vairagyyoschaiva sannaha bhaga itingana. He that possesses the attributes of sovereignty, potency, fame, wealth, knowledge and renunciation in full is known as Bhagavan. This is as per Vishnu Purana 6.5.47. Additionally, Jiva Goswami, the 16th century Vaishnava philosopher, says that Bhagavan is Bhajaniya Guna Cha Ananta Cha Nityaha, he that possesses all adorable qualities and whose all attractive nature is such that he attracts our feelings of affection and adoration. In contemporary society, there is much debate as to whether God exists or not. First, it is necessary to define what we mean by God before his existence can be determined or dismissed. Accordingly, the seers of the truth in ancient India have concluded that if there is a God, then God must necessarily be the owner and proprietor of everything. He must be all-powerful, the most famous, the most beautiful, the possessor of all knowledge, and at the same time detached or renounced. After careful analysis, those seers of truth concluded that only Sri Krishna could be and is the ultimate fountainhead of reality, the absolute truth. These findings have been corroborated by many sages through the ages from before 10,000 BCE and are dealt with extensively throughout Vedic literatures such as the Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Vedanta Sutra, Srimad Bhagavatam and Brahma Samhita, etc. Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishnaha Satchidanandaha Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the supreme controller. His form is made of bliss, knowledge and eternity. He is the origin of all. He is the master of cows and the senses. He has no other origin and he is the primeval cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. एते चंशा कलह पुंसाः कृष्णास्तु भगवान् स्वयं इंद्रारि व्याकुलं लोकं मृदयन्ति युगे युगे. The various avatars are either plenary expansions or parts of plenary expansions, but Krishna is the original source of all avatars. When impious elements disturb his devotees, he manifests age after age in order to protect them. This is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 3rd chapter, verse 28. Harir eva sadaradhyam सर्वदेवेश्वरेश्वरम इतरे ब्रह्मा रुद्राद्या नवज एवं कदाचना. Only Sri Hari or Krishna should be worshipped as the master of the entire universe. Brahma, Shiva and all other demigods never violate his principle at any time. This is said in Padma Purana. Yatra Vatiram Krishnakhyam Param Brahma Narakritim. In Vishnu Purana 4.2.2, when the Supreme Person descends in his human-like form, he is Krishna, the Supreme Brahman. Tasmat Krishna eva paro devas tam dhyayet, tam rase, tam bhaje, tam yajet. Thus Krishna is the Supreme Person. One should meditate on him, one should delight in him, one should worship him and make offerings to him. This is said in Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.54. Krishir bhuv vachakaha shabdo nascha nirvritti vachakaha tayor aikyam param brahma Krishna ityabhidhyate. The syllable Krish refers to the all-attractive quality of Krishna and the syllable Na refers to his spiritual bliss. When the verb Krish is added to the affix Na, it becomes the word Krishna, indicating the supreme truth. This is stated in Mahabharata Udyoga Parva 71.4. Arjuna has become overwhelmed with compassion for those who are about to die on the battlefield. In fact, such is his grief that he himself is prepared to die rather than kill his enemies. But Arjuna is a warrior and from a noble family. Therefore, Krishna advises Arjuna against his weakness of heart. If one is a warrior, it is one's duty to face the enemy and not cower away. Fighting is indeed a nasty business, but when duty calls, such fighting may be unavoidable. In ancient times, acts of aggression were abhorred and strictly forbidden in society and between nations. When such aggression did occur, retaliation and war were acceptable. According to the great sage Vasishtha, there are 6 types of aggressors, and according to Manu Samhita, these aggressors are to be met with lethal response. Agnido Garadaschaiva Shastra Panir Dhanapahah Kshetra Dara Pahari Sa Cha Sad Ete Hyata Tainaha. The arsonist who sets fire to one's house, one who administers poison, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who usurps a nation's resources, one who invades and occupies a sovereign country, and one who kidnaps one's family members, all should be considered as aggressors. This is said in Vasishtha Smriti 3.19. Atatayinam आयांतम हन्याद एवा विचारयन नातताई वधे दोषो हंतुर भवति कश्चना. Without hesitation, a warrior should destroy aggressors as there is no bad reaction in slaying them, as per Manu Samhita 8.350. These verses are according to the rules given in the Artha Shastra or laws of society. Yet, the Dharma Shastra, laws of Dharma, which are superior to the Artha Shastra, state that one should never inflict harm on any living being. Ma himsyat sarva bhutani. What to say of one's family members and superiors? This was Arjuna's dilemma. Being a soft-hearted devotee of Sri Krishna, Arjuna was disinclined to take up arms against his family members, but being a warrior, he had to face his destiny. In this state of bewilderment, Arjuna decided to put aside his casual relationship with Krishna as a friend and accept Sri Krishna as his guru or spiritual master. Thus, Krishna accepted Arjuna as a disciple. According to Vedic knowledge, there are numerous planets and parallel universes wherein life can be found. Some of these planets and universes have higher standards of living than we experience on Earth, and some are lower. If one performs one's prescribed duties in this life, then accordingly one is elevated to higher planets. However, if one neglects his duty, then only infamy and descending to lower planets awaits one in the next life. Krishna has used the word anarya, meaning non-Aryan, to describe Arjuna's disinclination to follow his prescribed Vedic duties. For centuries there has been much controversy about who is Aryan and where the Aryans came from. For the most part, all such considerations have been based upon bodily designations in order to establish one race of people as superior to another. But in Bhagavad Gita, according to the words of Sri Krishna, the Aryans are those who carry out their duties in accordance with the Vedic injunctions. Thus it is understood that the word Aryan does not pertain to a particular race of people, but to a conception of life and a way of living. Knowledge of the eternal existence of infinite consciousness, that is Krishna, and the finite individual unit of consciousness, that is Atma or the Self, is the key to all Vedic wisdom. This will be the central theme of Krishna's instruction to Arjuna in this chapter. With this, I'll conclude the reading for today, friends, and I'll see you all again soon. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Hare Krishna.